TMCnet at NextCom 2008.
Good afternoon. Welcome again, live from NextCom 2008 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Erik Linask, and I'm sitting here this afternoon with Juniper Networks General Manager of the Infrastructure Products Group, Kim Perdikou. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you.
So we're seeing a lot of new services, a lot of new types of content, and a lot of new ways of delivering content out there that the service providers are having to deal with.
Yeah.
How is that impacting their business models?
So I think in the past, the legacy business model was that the service provider provided content and a service. Right. What has happened is with IP networks is the content creation is taking place by very different people, and there's a lot of content services that are going over the network, and the network service provider is not monetizing out of that. And so therefore, they need to reinvent their business model. And there's an acceleration to that business model innovation that we need to enable as vendors to help them get there.
Now, we're talking about content providers and producers, things like YouTube, that kind of thing that are...
Yes, there's a lot of, and it's not just YouTube, there's actually, the consumers are creating their own content, right, as well as the searching vendor, with search, there's a tremendous amount of content that's created with that, as well as things like YouTube, Facebook. But these are just the applications today and the services today that users want. We really need to build an infrastructure and work with the service providers to build an infrastructure to monetize that infrastructure regardless of the multi-services that get delivered or the multiple applications that get delivered.
So we're talking, I guess, about increased traffic without service providers being able to offer the increased content.
Right.
So they've got to deal with that traffic only.
Exactly. So they can do two different types of model. They can do a cost base, which just moves traffic, it moves bits. But what they miss if they do that is the intelligence they have in the network is very valuable for the content creator. So the intelligence is who is actually the user that wants to see that. So what's the identity of the person? They also have a unique understanding of the network capability. So if you're a consumer, do you actually have the bandwidth that you can run that service? You then take the identity and the network capacity, and if you wrap that in policy management, you could deliver services and do dynamic provisioning in the network, which delivers a quality of experience that everyone is looking for. We're all looking for our own personalized, and it's like a mass customized experience, each individual differently.
So you talked a little bit about two approaches to take. How is Juniper specifically helping enable carriers cope with this situation?
So that's a great question. What we've done in the past is always delivered packet handling products, so the transport part of it. And the service provider has always delivered the services and the applications. What we're doing is filling in the middle of the three-layer architecture. So we're giving you products that you can identify the user, that's through our security products. You can certify that that user has access, and then we have policy management that you can dynamically provision bandwidth. So let me give you an example. You're surfing the web and you're on a call, but you have IPTV in your home. When you click that on, in 90% of networks that don't use Juniper product, that bandwidth is assigned statically, and it's not used unless the service is on. What we do is you use all the bandwidth for the service you're using, and then dynamically assign bandwidth when another service gets switched on. So we're really filling in and giving the ability in order for them to change. Now, one of the unique things is we're not doing that for a specific type of service only. So we're not just building it for IPTV, because we don't know if that's going to be the mass adoption. So we've got to build the building blocks that as a service provider, you can change the services and the applications and you can still deliver them to the industry fast enough.
So speaking of what is or isn't going to be the mass adoption, do you think we're going to continue to see this increased bandwidth usage and increased traffic trend continue?
Very much so. I don't think there's everything we do today, if you think about just the way we behave, it used to be you went to the doctor first. Most people surf the web first. And if you actually look at, from a social point of view, community information, medical information, education, it's all done online now. The world has fundamentally changed. And so the young consumer, it lives in an online world. In fact, there's a lot of people today who have online personas that are actually different from the real lives, and they live more in that. So I definitely see it growing.
And how do businesses also play a role in this?
Very much so. What's happening, so we've spent a lot of time looking at the consumer, but if you look at actually what's happening in the enterprise, all the applications that were built for the enterprise were never built for global use. So what we bring to the table is how can you accelerate those, dealing with latency around the world. It's not just bandwidth. And if you talk to any enterprise, there is a huge cost to running the network today, and what they're doing is outsourcing, and that's a managed services. So the more and more service providers can deliver new managed services. So if, for example, if a service provider can handle half the security issues in the network before it ever gets to the enterprise, that has huge value and can be purchased.
Fantastic. Sounds like an opportunity for another conversation about managed services down the road somewhere.
I think that's where there'll be huge growth too.
Fantastic. We've been speaking with Kim Perdikou from Juniper Networks. Kim, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much indeed for having us.
And enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.